ESPN 3D Space at the 2012 CES. We welcome you to the midday main event, being brought to you by Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated in association with the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. This contest scheduled for 6 rounds or less in the welterweight division. The judges are Patricia Morse-Jarman, C.J. Ross, and Jerry Roth. The third man in the ring, referee Kenny Bayless. And now, CES 2012 Las Vegas. We find out quién es el más macho. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. He enters the ring wearing red, white, and blue. His official weight, 146 pounds. He enters the ring, an undefeated fighter with 7 victories. All 7 victories by way of knockout. Fighting out of Hartford, Connecticut, by way of Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, Javier El Chino Flores. His opponent across the ring in the blue corner. He steps in wearing the solid white trunks. He weighed in officially at 146 pounds with a professional record of 10 victories against 8 losses, with 3 of those victories coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Riverside, California, Alex the Ghost Viramontes.
Okay, gentlemen, went over the rules in the dressing room. I want to caution you to keep the fight clean at all times, protect yourself at all times, and what I say you must obey. Good luck. Touch them up. Buena suerte.
This should be fun. You know, the first thing that I always say and always think when I see a fighter like this, 7-0, 7 knockouts, as Flores is it real power or real bad opponents? You know, we're going to get a chance to find that out. Flores, out of his 7 fights, only 1 opponent has had a winning record. Now he's fighting a fighter in Viramontes, not a great record, 10-8. But he has fought the much better opposition. He's been in with 5 undefeated opponents. We'll see how that serves him.
And Viramontes just pulled off an upset against an undefeated prospect. Had a 6-round decision win against the previously undefeated Venezuelan John Ortega. That was back on September 23rd.
Viramontes has lost 3 of his last 4 and 5 of his last 7. Now that's no way to go into a fight with a 7-0, 7 knockout opponent. But again, he has been in with the better opposition, and as a qualifier, 3 of Viramontes' losses were split decisions. So if you...
Oh, he gets sent back just 55 seconds into this fight.
5, 6,
I guess that we've
8. Well, okay.
We've determined one thing early on. Flores does have power.
7-0, 7 knockouts.
And to make things worse, he has southpaw power. He does it from the lefty stance. Makes it much more difficult for anybody in front of him. Everything is coming from the wrong side, not the side they're used to seeing it come from. And if Flores needed any more advantage, I'm not sure he does. He's a bigger man in this fight. His entire career between welterweight and junior middleweight, while Viramontes has fought most of his career at junior welter. Besides that little flash of power, what do I like about Flores, besides that he has really nice trunks and he's a southpaw? What do I like about him early on? I think I like his calmness.
Very steady.
Yeah, that he didn't get excited. He knows he's on television. You know, he didn't get outside himself, over anxious when he scored that knockdown. He's staying to whatever that game plan him and his trainers had before the fight. And he's staying very composed and inside that way of thinking.
Calmly going about his business. He tried to place the left uppercut there, coming after that right hook, did the undefeated southpaw.
Now, if you want to take it a step further, and a guy like Flores, who has 70 amateur fights, so he's been in the ring, he should be calm. Maybe he's being so composed for a couple of reasons. Maybe that's his game plan, that's his nature. He wants to stay calm, he doesn't want to get outside himself. Maybe he knows he's got a guy in front of him who he can take his time with and he can work with.
Fired off that left uppercut a few times here in this final minute. Straight left hand. End of one. Knockdown scored by the unbeaten Javier Flores.
Too much respect. Way too much respect.
Take a look at the knockdown. What I like about it, it's not just a straight left hand. Let's watch it again. It's the little step back. That's what I like, the science. He steps back, creates a little gap, distorts the distance, and then throws a beautiful straight left hand. That's what I like. I like Flores because of that. He's thinking, he's cerebral in there. Takes a little step back, straight as an arrow left hand from the southpaw position. That's the southpaw power punch. The punch that you can throw with the back leg behind it, where you can put your back, you can put your body into that punch. And you can put your opponent on the floor when you land it.
Two-year pro is Javier Flores, 25 years old. Grew up in Puerto Rico. Didn't have a lot of advantages growing up there. Says he fights to give his family a better life. He flies up to Hartford, Connecticut, where his manager and trainer are. And he trains out of New Haven, Connecticut, down at the Boxing and Faith Gym. So he splits his time between New England and the Caribbean and comes out here to Vegas to show up on this ESPN 3D special.
Viramontes, no doubt about it. He is here, has been put here by the matchmakers, by the promoters, as an opponent to make Flores, who's the future star maybe, 8-0 with 8 knockouts. But he's better, as I said earlier, even though he was on the floor the first round. He's better than his record. He's a tough guy who will be there trying. If he can get through these first couple dangerous rounds, maybe there's still a chance that he could test Flores in some areas that he hasn't been tested yet. That's what he's hoping for. The bad news, Viramontes has been knocked out once before in his career, so Flores knows that. He knows he has power, and he knows he has a guy in front of him who has been hurt before. And he figures, as all punchers figure, Joe, if he's been hurt before, I can hurt him again. That's what punchers think like. Just like a three-point shooter in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm not going to miss.
No, if I get an opening, I can make that shot.
Some body work by Viramontes, but it was met with return fire from Flores. See an abrasion above the right eye of Viramontes, right on the middle of the forehead there. As he comes in swinging a bit wide that time with that left hand.
Yeah, I liked it and I didn't like what I saw with Viramontes. What I mean by that, I like that he threw the punches with bad intentions. He threw that left hook with bad intentions to do some damage. What I didn't like was it was a little wide. And I already saw Flores knows how to throw straight punches.
Yeah, he can fill that hole.
Oh, he can fill it quickly.
You like the willingness, though, of Viramontes, even though you feel he's outgunned. You
I
just
really
know
do.
what it can create for Flores.
Exactly, Joe. I mean, he's been on the floor already, but here he is in the second round, and he's coming forward. He's not intimidated, and he's trying to find a way.
Sending out that left hand, but then the right hook from the southpaw came right back at him. But yes, a more aggressive Alex Viramontes in the back half of this second round. So Viramontes and Flores coming to the end of round number 2 here in Vegas.
Hey, much better round. Much better round. This is this kid don't like pressure.
Told you earlier that you can join in with the conversation. Your feedback as to everything we do at ESPN 3D. Pound ESPN 3D. You can tweet your thoughts. And you can see that my PC Guy 1 is sitting here at the Las Vegas Convention Center. watching live boxing and says those replays are amazing. It's so interesting to have this setting, Teddy, where the live crowd is wearing the glasses and we have the monitors up above, so they're seeing this scene right here in between rounds, so you get many more oohs and ahs between rounds than you get during the round because they're so impressed with the replays.
I wonder what those oohs and ahs are. And as I look at my monitor, I see one of the reasons. Again, another look at that beautiful straight left hand from the undefeated southpaw Flores.
Everybody decked out in their Marchand EX 3D eyewear. Glad to be coming to you from CES, world famous trade convention here in Vegas every January. The latest technology coming out. Booth set up, and this by far the most dynamic and interesting booth that CES has ever seen. A live sporting event. Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas with you for this ESPN 3D special.
See, it's not just the power that's the difference. There's other dimensions that separate Flores in this fight. You saw it a moment ago. Viramontes coming one way. Give him credit for it. He's been on the floor. He's still coming one way. He's coming forward, trying to get something done. But Flores changing things up, stepping back, changing distance a little bit, making the road a little bit harder to navigate for Viramontes. A little bit more difficult. And again, a little step back and then that nice straight left hand from the southpaw.
Straight left hand has scored well for Flores. Came with the right hook and then sends him back against the ropes. Now here's Flores on the attack. And quickly, Kenny Bayless steps in. You didn't like that stoppage at all, Teddy, did you?
I didn't like that at all. I mean, look, Bayless, I think, was reading the press clippings a little bit of Flores. 7-0, 7 knockouts. He already had him on the floor. A little too quick to pull the trigger on that stoppage. Early in the day, he made a stoppage quickly, which I thought was a good stoppage. You know, it was a one-sided fight. Things weren't going to change. This fight was just starting. I was curious to see if Viramontes could survive another round or two and maybe make it interesting and get into some areas Flores hasn't been in before. Ask some questions of Flores, maybe he hadn't been in. Even that left hand there, you see it? It was blocked. That wasn't clean. You could see there Viramontes did a good job getting that right glove over, blocking, taking a lot off of that. Here's the final flurry here. And again, here's some shots. There's no doubt that Viramontes is shaking a little bit. Took some good shots right there. On second look, you know what? It's a little harder to argue. I'll be the first one to correct myself if I'm wrong. I think that that's only fair. Take another look at the finish here. Looking at it now again, Bayless, there was some clean shots at the end there. There's no doubt that Viramontes was shaking a little bit there. Maybe I would have waited a little longer, just stayed close, saw whether or not Viramontes could have got himself out of trouble there, gave him just a little bit more of a chance, a little benefit of the doubt. But again, on second glance, I can't be quite as critical of Bayless' stoppage as I was initially when I first saw it, because Flores landed some good punches. No doubt he is a power puncher, and Viramontes was affected there, and Bayless figured, hey, let me get in there before it's too late. Maybe sooner rather than later in his mind.
Here's Lupe Contreras.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Kenny Bayless calls a halt to this contest with an official time of 1 minute 9 seconds of round number 3. Your winner, still undefeated by way of technical knockout, Javier El Chino Flores.
So Javier Flores will return to Puerto Rico with an 8-0 mark and make his way to Connecticut to train again and push forward in his career as a welterweight prospect.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen,